This meeting back to order. So is there anyone that would like to address the council tonight that is not on the agenda for public comment? Going once. Going twice.
What for?
You're going to do the park board report, aren't you? You got to own special place on the agenda.
I know, but
okay.
Don't you want to hear my public comment, which is about public?
Sure. And then would you fill out a form?
Of course. Would you make a comment on this? Okay. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Kate.
Kate Hull. My house is 102 Alder Lane South. I just wanted to comment that in the last 6 to 8 months, the city is, I'll say, more friendly. I know several people who work for the city. They're getting out on time. They are not so stressed out, and that, she's staring. I just wanted to say I thought the city was coming together, and that's all. I'll leave.
I didn't do it. Thank you, Kate.
Just a couple of better shoes.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on public comment? Okay. Seeing no other people speaking, we'll start with reports. We'll begin with the mayor's report. Pickup Pacific, I think, was a great success. I want to thank Dean Fancher for spearheading the event. Good job. Yay!
It was the park board's fault.
To bring it in, shoot. On the planning window, she made these great little booklets for the map of the parks in the city, and I think it would behoove the city to invest a little bit of money and help her out with that project. It turned out really nice, a little pocketbook map of the parks in the city, and I thought that was pretty awesome, a nice little addition.
Keep topping and I'll go get some.
So, it appeared to me that all of the park board members were there in attendance, as far as I could tell, and that a majority of the members from planning or partnerships was there as well, participating, which was really good. And I would also like to recognize the following council members for their participation as well. Our cooks, Katie Garberding and Stacy Oliveira, cooked a great lunch, and Councilmember Steiger, who was there to cheer everybody on as they returned from picking everything up. Yeah. So I just want to thank the council members for participating, and really appreciate that. I know the park board will probably elaborate on this, but there were several door prizes and awards were handed out. And if I recall, our new trash king is, our continuing trash king is Frank Catton. Yeah, the king of trash would be Frank Catton and his wife. I'm sure the park board will elaborate on this as well. So, and you pass those up. Those are great. Good job, Dean. I thought that was awesome. The Public Works Department received a request about using a metal detector on city property. After some research, Lance had discovered that we really don't have a policy in place, and some cities will prohibit while other cities will allow with restrictions on how to recover items that were buried in the ground, and that it's like private use on public or on city property, and so we were really kind of concerned on how to address this. So after we kind of talked about it a little bit, we decided what we were going to do is send this to the Parks Board and to look at a policy and some recommendations to bring back to council on how to address this in the future, since most of this activity will take place in parks. And so,
is there an ongoing issue with this?
Somebody has come and asked for it, and so not having a policy in place, just to kind of, it's been brought to our attention, we should be mindful of it, especially if it's here on city property. I mean, we're not out policing the parks, but we should have a policy in place on how we address that. Especially if you think about somebody going through and digging, looking for something, what kind of restrictions or something that we may have on that, or a policy. So anyways, the park board will be looking forward to seeing something along those lines. The last thing that I have on my report is I want to remind everybody that the council will be holding their annual retreat this Saturday here at Council Chambers from 9 a.m. till 2. We'll try to get them sooner. We also will be having a short presentation by Ann McFarland regarding parliamentary procedures. And is she coming at the beginning? She'll be at the very beginning of it. So anyway, she'll be doing a short presentation, and then council will be sharing their vision of the city as well, and working together as we start preparing next year's budget and what kind of things we want to see in the budget and what kind of vision we have for the direction for the city moving forward. So with that, that ends my report. Next up, we have the city administrator.
Good evening. On this, I'll be meeting with the PERT mediator and the Uniform Union Negotiating Team this Friday at 3:30 p.m. by conference call to discuss the City Council's CBA offer. This will most likely be the last mediated meeting between the two parties. Should the two sides not come to an agreement, the next step would be interest arbitration. The first negotiation, catch the theme here. The first negotiation between the Public Works and Clerical Union begins this Thursday at 9 a.m. and it'll last till 1. And this is, and Lance, Jack, and I have continued to meet in preparation for this meeting, and we'll bring something to the council once we have something to report on. I anticipate the first meeting being more of looking at the articles that we can come to an easy agreement on as far as non-economic value, and probably bringing that before council in the next week or two. Hopeful, I don't know how realistic it is to expect to have an agreement in place by the end of June, considering we have the same negotiator we have on the police side. Number one. Number two is it just takes some time to work these things out. So we're going to go for longer meetings. Instead of the 2-hour meetings, we're going to be doing 4-hour meetings to start and see how that goes. The first quarter financial reports are in your package, and they've been, I just want to let you know, they've been through the Finance Committee. Staff has reviewed them, the mayor has got them and looked at them. And I found a correcting entry which changed the numbers from the first week I gave it to you to this week for good. And so the city is in a better fund position after the first quarter this year than it was after the first quarter last year. And we'll be talking more about that when we get to the agenda item. The proposed new sound and recording systems that were discussed by council on April 6th continue to have staff perform due diligence and reference checks and price comparison. The Technology Committee also discussed this with me at the last committee meeting on the 16th, and staff plans to bring this back to the council by May 18th. I'm giving us a little more time so we can make sure that everything's checked out, that we have the final prices, and that I can have the parties here to talk about both the sound system and the recording system and what that will entail to put it together on a timely basis. And hopefully, I'm pretty sure we can have that to you by the 18th. And I will be meeting with the Technology Committee in May also to finalize that. Amy and I took part in a presentation last Tuesday by a company named Revise. They're a website building expert that has built 800 city and 400 county websites nationally. It lasted approximately an hour, and it really impressed Amy and I. So I think you can check out a couple of their websites they've built in the state of Washington, City of Anacortes and the City of Edgewood. And they're quite user-friendly, and they do what we need to do to have communications with the public and to allow department heads actually to have access to them. And as interest, the cost per annual is the same as what we're paying Auburn right now, their IT staff. And I'll be bringing this to the Technology Committee. And I also am hopeful to have the mayor and one or more members of the Technology Committee to get a presentation from Revise. They said they would do this, and it would be a scoped out, it would be more like 15, 20 minutes. Last Tuesday, Bias, who is our financial software provider, held an all-day annual report workshop here in City Hall, the City Council Chambers. This is the second year in a row they've done that. We get a prize break when they do that. And there were 3 staff members that attended, including myself. It was quite informative regarding future audits, such as the future audits are going to be, because they work with the auditors, state auditors, on their software, and they're finding out that one of the things that they know is that auditors are going to start focusing in on fixed assets and capital assets specifically, as far as how we replace them, where they're located, purchasing, making sure everything's being done properly, because that's been going on for over a decade now with one of the federal GASB statute standards, which is all the cities that are Class 1, the bigger cities, have to report depreciation. We don't have to because we're allowed to be cash, but now they're saying, well, you got to show us where your assets are. Pretty much every small city that has cash bases has gotten by on having to have a really solid schedule. We're working on that right now, and it should be coming down from the auditors within 2 years, so we're going to be prepared long before then. And that's all I have.
Questions? All right,
Thank you.
Okay, the court staff will be in your book for another week or so, at the end of the month. Community services.
So good evening. Human Services Committee meeting will be held tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. And did you want that in the mayor's office?
We
Like
can
we
do
did
that.
last month?
We can meet in the mayor's office.
Okay. The second annual Citizens Appreciation Dinner was a huge success. I know this is backtracking a little, but I haven't been here all month. As you probably all know, Ann Smith is our new Citizen of the Year for 2015. There were over 50 people in the gym that night to celebrate our new Citizen of the Year. She was given a beautiful plaque, and this year all of our nominees were awarded certificates. The dinner raised $290.72 excuse me, for the senior and youth programs. Attached, you will find the participation numbers for the senior center for March. The youth gyms, their numbers were submitted earlier this month. Also enclosed in your packet is a count for Touch of Home. I thought that the Touch of Home should also be included as the monthly totals. This month, the senior center, we're starting to play cribbage on Mondays. We have 5 or 6 seniors that are coming in for cribbage. On the 8th of May, we will be having a lunch to celebrate our moms. I don't want to leave any of the gentlemen out, so we're going to be celebrating the moms in our lives. On Thursday the 7th, we're taking the bus to the rhododendron garden in Federal Way. I think the rhododendrons will be in bloom at that time. I know mine are, so I figured this would be a really good chance to hit the gardens. I also placed on your desk the calendars for May for the Senior Center and the youth side. Back on April 1st, the American Heart Association had a 30-minute walk. We had 25 people that contacted me and stated that they would go on this walk. 11 people were from the city of Pacific, and 13 were from our staff here. I'm sorry, 14. This event will also count towards our city wellness program. Even though it held on that day, we really had a good time, and when it started hailing, excuse me, the seniors really picked up their pace. I will be attending a Meals on Wheels meeting on this Thursday along with our volunteers for Pandra Hicks. It's an afternoon-long meeting. They're going to discuss new products and new procedures. We had 3 new people this month sign up for Meals on Wheels. Story time in the gym was held last Friday in the East Room. Joanne had 3 new families that joined this group for just the story time alone. That's all I have.
Okay, questions? Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you.
Okay, Public Works.
Good evening, Council. A few of the activities going on that are topical and I hope of interest is last week I personally attended a meeting that was sponsored by the Public Works Board, which is underneath the Department of Commerce for the state. And their focus of the seminar was how do cities, municipalities, and other public agencies look to invest in their infrastructure. So there was a lot of very well thought out presentations and some good ideas that I took away from that I'll be sharing with Richard and the mayor, and hopefully we can take some of that knowledge and use it to our benefit going forward. The staff last week, while I was out, attended a equipment demonstration for one of the pieces of equipment that is on our capital acquisition list, and that's a line striper, a painter that will absolutely take care of some of the striping and like for the parking lots at the park here at City Hall, as well as some of the curbs around the city. So very excited about that, had some good reviews on the equipment, and now we'll just take the next step and look to get that piece of equipment purchased so we can use it to our benefit this spring. Additionally, at this time of the year, as everybody knows, if you're doing your personal landscaping and curing, the vegetation is growing. So we're scrambling. We're keeping up with some of the park duties and maintenance there, but we're also transitioning into the vegetation control at some of the storm drainage ponds. And with that also coming up, this means that we'll be looking at hiring a couple of public works seasonal employees. So that'll be getting that announcement out here in the next few days or week. Let's see. Well, I think just wrapping up, I'll be brief on that and wrap up at that point unless there's any questions.
I just have a really quick question. Sorry, I think you're working. Will that line striper also be able to do the crosswalk, the section?
Yes, I mean, the standard crosswalks, it will be able to do that, but I will say until this crew get more skilled at using the equipment, we'll keep it to a very basic service because there's a lot of layout that goes into some of the more complex pavement markings that you can see. But initially, we'll start with the parking lots and work up from there, including crosswalks.
Further questions? Oh, Councilmember Walker.
And I was looking at the agenda, the consent agenda, and there's an item on there, so I figured I'd ask now for some training Public Works went through, P.C.S. training or G?
Yes. GPS training, frame my thoughts here to just directly speak to your question. Infrastructure management requires good local information and locating your assets very accurately so you can display them on maps and other data sources. The city already owns a TopCon device which allows you to collect with a very high level of accuracy down to millimeters. For example, like where are the fire hydrants located, where are the valves located. But it's sophisticated enough the staff needs to know the protocols to enter the data, how to do the screen management, and manipulate the data both on the input side as well as the output side. So that's what the training will allow us to do, is get more familiar with the equipment we already own and then how to utilize it fully.
Thank you very much.
That equipment we discussed at Public Works ages ago should, in the long run, save us quite a bit of money by not having to hire surveyors for things that don't need to be recorded surveys.
Well, I remember,
But it's just locating our own stuff.
I didn't see a purchase, and then I saw this training, so I didn't know where it came from, so thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Glenn. Okay, next up we have community development.
Mayor, council members, just a quick report on some of the activities going on. On Saturday, I met with the King County Conservation Futures Trust Board about two of the grant requests that we put in for this year to answer their questions on why we put the grant request in, what the ultimate goal of the city would be for using the properties if we managed to get the grant. So I met with them for about half an hour on the properties that are in the city that we had looked at. Like I mentioned before, both those properties are on Milwaukee Creek, so there's definitely opportunities that the city can use them. In one respect, as part of wetland mitigation for improvements to city properties if there's wetlands there, so as a wetland mitigation site. So we'll find out ultimately in November where they go on it. They had a lot of good questions, especially regarding fisheries resources within the creek. And I answered them as best I could based on the information that we have. In May, coming up in May, it looks like the first week in May, we're going to have what we call a pre-construction meeting with the King County Flood Control District and Burlington Northern on the first phase of the left bank levee improvement. I wanted to make sure I had a meeting with them to make sure everybody's coordinating properly, because Burlington Northern is really hot to trot and get their work done, but it didn't appear they were aware of all the conditions and the permits that the county has received. So I want to make sure everybody's on the same page before we give them our permit for what they're going to be doing. So that'll be coming up in May. The last thing I have is quick thing. Planning Commission is tomorrow night. There are a couple items on the agenda. We're going to be, and they're focused strictly on the sign code. One of them deals with the freeway sign district that's been under discussion for quite a long time, and we're going to have some more discussion on the freeway sign district. We have some draft regulations that we'll be discussing. I have sent them to the city attorney for take a look at them as to form. Other than that, we will be looking at a section in the sign code that deal with legal non-conforming signs, because when we took the non-conforming sign code out of 1612, which had a very small section on non-conforming signs, that wasn't included in the new 2012 on non-conforming signs, so we need to amend our sign code so we have some language regarding non-conforming signs. So there'll be some discussion on that. Plus, we'll have some new definitions in the code relative to those proposed code changes. And that's it. Any questions?